Okay, so it's your girl Michelle with Girls Talk Real Talk, because when girls talk, just about anything can happen. We are having a few technical difficulties with our guests, so we are going to go ahead and we are going to get started. Today we were going to have Dr. Tuesday Mahoney come on, and she was going to talk about the great work that she does, and she was going to talk about her series, Millie, the book series that she created, but she's having some technical difficulties. And so I wanted to take this opportunity just to kind of talk to you guys a little bit over a couple of things to give her a chance, just in case she's able to come in. I'll bring her on to the platform. But one of the things that recently that I have been looking at is systematic racism. One of the things that I don't think that we understand within our community is that systematic racism can play out in several different ways. It's not like one way that it plays out and then everybody can recognize it. That's not the case. One of the ways in which systematic racism plays out is taking away the voice of African American women, gaslighting them, making them feel as if how they feel is not important, or that we're overreacting, um, diminishing or demeaning how we see ourselves and the things that are going on with us. And so this coming summer, we're going to be doing a series on systematic racism, specifically with talking about that aspect of it. And so I think in some regards, if you give yourself the opportunity, then you will understand exactly what that's about. So look forward to that happening, and the opportunities that we will have to have those conversations. We will have people that will be coming on the show that will be talking about this topic as it relates to education, as it relates to the workplace, as it relates to those interactions that we have with our brothers and sisters of another persuasion. And so, and then we're also going to talk about a couple of things in regards to POCs, people of color, and how that damages what Black or African Americans have had to endure where racism is concerned, and how you can't lump all individuals that are non Caucasians in one area. So I see that Dr. Tuesday has come on, and so we are going to go ahead and bring her on the platform. So, Dr. Tuesday, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
I am good. Do you have another device on? I'm hearing a little bit of feedback, and I don't know if it's me or you.
It could be my cell phone. It's not on, but let me try and see if I can adjust it, okay?
Okay, no problem. So, one of the things that I think that we're going to be talking about tonight, of course, we're going to be talking about her books. We're also going to be talking about the great work that she does in the community, and we're also going to be talking a little bit about women in business, and how that plays in the whole scheme of things. This is one dynamic lady. When you get the opportunity to really hear her story, be able to hear the work that she is doing, you will begin to see the necessity of knowing who she is and how it plays out in our world and what that looks like. Also, for all of those that participated in the Mother's Day giveaway for single mothers, we truly appreciate all of our sponsors. During the month of June and July, starting about mid-June all the way through July, we will begin to advertise those sponsors that we had. I'm waiting until then in order to advertise the sponsors, because we actually have some individuals that are going to be helping us out with our Father's Day Single Dads giveaway. So if you are interested in being a sponsor for the Father's Day Single Fathers giveaway, let me know, and we'll have you have your face in the place, and we'll make sure that you are advertised as well. So, Dr. Tuesday, I want to give you the
Yes.
opportunity to catch your breath. I know it was, all of us was moving and grooving, but I want you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much, Ms. Jones, for having me. I have been a fan of your show on Facebook and really excited about you inviting me on. So I appreciate that. And I do apologize for the delay. I was thinking Central Time, so I truly apologize for that. But I'm Dr. Tuesday Mahoney. And first of all, I just want to let everyone know that I'm a servant. I'm a servant for others. And my philosophy is reaching, in particular, young people to help them reach their highest level of potential. So everything that I do is centered around student centered based service, and also helping families to empower their young people to make it to levels beyond what we are and where we are today.
That's great. So I was interested in something that was going on with you, and I want to share a little bit. When you came across my radar, and somebody else had introduced you to me, and so I went and started checking you out and seeing. I was like, okay, this is somebody that I think we would want to get to know in the work that you're doing. But you actually have a book series that you created. Why don't you tell us about your book series?
Well, actually, yes, I have. First of all, I have a book series that was released in 2016. It's entitled Follow Me to Purpose. And it was written more or less for our college level students and adults that are seeking to set goals. And so it's called Follow Me to Purpose. I have a book and a workbook that allows individuals to take time to really gain a spiritual connection with what God has for us and the designated purpose that He has for our life, and then channeling into a mindset that will allow us to set spiritual goals that will lead us into purpose. And so that series is what started my journey, and I created that at my lowest point. I lost my number one fan, my best friend, my mom, in 2016 to liver failure. And so as I watched her go down 6 feet under, I was devastated. But I called upon the Lord and asked, hey, what do I do now? And he stated to me just clearly, follow me to purpose. And so a lot of times individuals think that my title is about following me. No, no, no. It's God's direction for what he wants for my life. And I wanted to share that through goal setting. So that's my first series. And then just recently through the pandemic, I do a lot of workshops with young kids and also with college students. And so around 2008, I did a series called Millie and Billy, the Job Seeker, with about 6 elementary school programs. And when I left each session, I felt that there was a void there. Those young people really enjoyed, and these were kindergarten through 6th grade, elementary level. They really enjoyed learning about the career options, learning about the purpose of money, learning about earning that money, and also making decisions as an adult in the areas of education to gain the career that you will be passionate about, and also that will help empower you economically. And so I said, this needs to be a book. And then throughout the quarantine, that's when, the Lord just put it on my heart to just start writing. And so now I am at 15 books. I have the Millie, the Job Seeker series, once again, K through 6, college and career series. And I also have some social and civic engagement topics that are involved, and also some economic empowerment topics. And your kindergartner can learn. So I'm really passionate about just reaching students early, because I work with high schoolers all the time, and they're still at senior year not knowing their direction. And that really, it really tugs on me. And so I want to get the message out about college and career prep early.
That is so true. I actually have a granddaughter that is a freshman in high school. All of her life, her mom has told her that she's going to be a doctor, that she's going to be this doctor. And she came up with everything in the world of why she couldn't be a doctor. So then I was like, well, if you don't want to be a doctor, what are you going to be? She hunched her shoulders.
Wow.
That's kind of where everything, to me, because I was a little different with my kids. I never told them what they were going to be. I let them tell me what it was that they wanted to do. And so what it did is it took the pressure off, so that they would be able to step into that space on their own. And then I could support them. And absolutely, that made a difference. So watching her now trying to figure out what that's going to look like, and if she really wants to become a doctor, or if she wants to do something else. But I'm finding that a lot of our young people don't really know what it is that they want to do.
And I agree with you. I think a lot of them don't have the privilege of a wonderful grandmother that you appear to be for your grandkids. They don't have anyone that will share that message of encouragement with them. And so even with us, and I have 2 in college and 2 high schoolers actually at this time, even they, need some time to really figure out what it is. And if we have to think about it from our standpoint, I was told that I would never go to college and amount to anything as a teen. And so having just my mom just push me and say, no, you are going to do something with your life, even though I wasn't able to. I'm going to find a way, I'll make one. And she did. And because she was able to sow that into me early, all of the naysayers, I was able to push that to the side. And so they call, the same naysayers, they call me Dr. Tuesday Mahoney today. And so I think it's just so important that we just instill early. I always talk about when we look at other cultures, because I am also the coordinator for international programs on my college campus. And they come over ready. They have already been empowered. They know how to run businesses, how to, engage in entrepreneurship at a young age. You see them at ages 5, 6, and 7 in the stores. You see them learning the father's trade. And so with our underrepresented populations, they don't get that. They don't get the message. And so that's why I really wanted to start with just a series that would be simple for them and then also empowering at the same time. So I appreciate what you're doing as a grandmother for your young ones.
I want to go back to something you said. When we first started, you were talking about the book, the series that you had come up in regards to goal setting and all in that. In what it is that you're dealing with in that particular book, how is it playing out in the lives of the people that you are dealing with? So I'll preface that with this. I think a lot of times our young people, those young people that look like us, are not given the same information that other young people are receiving. And so they're not being taught about SMART goals and about the action steps with the SMART goals and the timetable with the SMART goal, and really sitting down and looking at what you want to do and re-engineer it back so that you can take the steps to be able to do what it is that you have to do. So that particular series that you put out, how is that helping our young people today be able to take that concept and run with it?
Oh, I think it's definitely impactful. And once again, I give God the glory for the message. As I speak with young people, they start off with the 8 steps that I have generated in the book. And actually, the book is a 30-day journey. So it takes them through scriptures that will empower them. And then it allows them to reflect each day on the choices that they make after they read the scenario about an example of what I went through in a life experience. And so I provide them initially with the book with the eight steps, and that's purpose, focus, inspiration, plan, support, commitment, action, and success. And I break it down thoroughly in the book as well as in the workshops when I present the book. And at the end of their journey, it's a mind reset. It's a mind reset that allows them now to determine goals that God has for them and their purpose. And they leave with a guide to a vision board. I love vision boards. We do one in my household every year, and everywhere I go, I try to do a vision board. So my students, when they work with me, they do a vision board. And even when, because I work at a historical Black college, Southern University, which is the only historical Black college in the system. And so what I do when I have young people come into my office and they're confused about their goal or their direction, we sit right there in the office. I have these little miniature cardboard cutouts that they use, and we create a vision board within 30 minutes. And when they leave out, they're empowered with their goal. And so that's what I've seen the book do. And it's also great for adults who may still be trying to figure out their way.
I think that that's important, and it's powerful in that a lot of times we don't think about setting those goals to move us forward. We just kind of wake up in the morning and we just move with it. We know we've got work to do. We know we've got a family to take care of. We know that we have these responsibilities. But the thing that I have found, and I'm so intrigued by that book and the series also, but that book, because one of the things that I really deal with women on is setting your goals. And I want you to kind of share too, but in women setting your goals, okay, you are a female first before you were a mom, a wife, a girlfriend, any of that. You are an individual. And so whereas you have a family, you might have children, you have to make sure that you're setting goals for yourself and then goals for your family, and then allow them to complement each other. But when I talk about that kind of stuff, people think that that is just the most foreign concept in the world. Have you encountered that yourself?
Yes, absolutely. And that was one of my inspirations for writing the book, and just staying steadfast to goal setting. And I think goal setting should occur on an annual basis for everyone, especially for women, because we're pulled so often to help others fulfill their goals. You know, I'm a loving wife and I love my husband to death, but he has some things that he wants to accomplish. And if I'm not careful, the things that God has shown me in particular to impact young people and women, then I might not get to where I need to be as well. So what we have to do is balance ourselves. And then our kids have goals that they want to accomplish. And a lot of times we fade into what their lives are and what goals we want them to achieve, what they're doing in high school, what they're doing in college. Oh, this is their achievement. But we have to realize as women, we have to take time for ourselves and set goals for ourselves, really to feel wholeheartedly confident in what, you know, our plans are for our life. And in the book, Follow Me to Purpose, I actually have some inspirational goal setting mindset rules that I think will be great for women. And of course, the first thing is we just need to take time to ask God. You know, every morning you need to kind of wake up and ask God, hey, what is it? What is your plan for me? Because he already knows, you know, your plan, and it's about success. So if we don't take time to ask, then we won't know where our success path or journey really takes us. It's like a train that doesn't have a direction, it just might derail, you know? So we as women, we have to stay on track, but we have to ask God first, believe in ourselves, dream, and then write down that vision, you know, make it plain, pray about it constantly. When I do a vision board, I'm constantly praying about it. And what's on my board is what God showed me. And then I set a timeline and I set a date. So we set goals all the time, but we never put a date on those goals. So you got to set a date and aim for that date and never get distracted. And then faith without works is dead. So a lot of times we set goals and we don't put any works behind it for ourselves. We're working on somebody else's goals. So you got to put that works behind your faith in order for you to succeed. And then at the end, I'm always giving God the glory, period.
You know, I think that's really interesting. And one of the reasons I say that is because I'm looking down at my phone. I literally, kid you not, I literally yesterday did a post in one of my groups that I facilitate. And of course, you know, it doesn't jump right up at you at the moment.
Yes.
But in that it says, action sparks the energy we use to boldly step into our future. Get moving.
Yes, that's that faith. Without the works, if you don't move, no action is going to come of it. You have to work.
And I think that's what people have to understand. We can set goals and they look good on paper. We can even show them to other people. But until we put the action behind the goal that you set, and you begin to take those actionable steps to make sure that that goal becomes a reality in your life, then things don't necessarily work out the way that we want them to or that we even expect them to.
Yeah.
And so I think for a lot of people, we have to begin to understand that nobody else is responsible for our success. Nobody. It is our responsibility to step into the space to make sure that we are instrumental in making sure that our success happens. Too many times we sit back and we allow the situation to determine whether we're going to be successful or not, instead of us being the action behind every move. Um, I have a 5 a.m. Bible study and prayer that I'm in. And right now we are literally talking about um, the Joseph anointing.
Well,
And so, in talking about the Joseph anointing, one of the things that we talk about in that is that it took him 13 years to get from being sold into slavery to end up second in command in Egypt. And everything that he went through was necessary for him to get from where he was to where he needed to be so that he could live out his purpose. And so I say that to say this. A lot of times we get upset because it's taken too long.
mm,
A lot of times we don't look at the journey as maybe God getting some junk out of us to prepare us for wherever he's going to place us. Because if Joseph would have never had the dream, and if he had never been immature in the sharing of that dream, his brothers would have never sold him into slavery, and he would have never been in the position to make sure that his family was saved during the famine that hit the land. And so we never know the moves that we have to make, but sometimes the steps we have to take are difficult. They're not always the easiest thing in the world for us to do, but they are necessary to get us to where we need to be versus where we are. But first, and this is something I'm sure you can appreciate and that you can speak to as well, you have to be willing to move.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I
Absolutely.
think you have to look at that. You have to be willing to move. And we can even bring it back to you. You know, during a difficult time in your life, you wrote this book. And it wasn't about the experience so much that you had in losing your mother, but it was about setting those goals and helping people get past some of the difficult times in their lives so that they can be successful. And we never know how God will use those difficult times in order to birth something out of us that is going to bless somebody else.
Yes, I'm so, that really touched me a lot because it just reminds me of just when I was a little girl, I did have literacy challenges. And so that's why Black literacy is so important to me. I would have never imagined that I would be writing, and I have over 20 books now that I've self published. That wasn't one of my strong suits. And I also was one of the shyest young ladies in school from kindergarten all the way up to high school. I never said a mumbling word, but now I can speak before hundreds with confidence. So just when you were speaking about Joseph in God's plans, we really don't know what direction he's taking us in. But if you just sit back and look at the power that he has and what he can do in your life and allow him to move, then you'll see miracles. And we see it every day. We see it, it's right there in the story, how he operates. Every scenario that he puts you through in life, every situation is going to empower you. And the one thing that you believe may not be your strength or the challenge that you have, that will actually be your gift. And that's what we don't realize a lot of times, that your gifts are right there before you in the midst of your problem.
Okay, so I want to switch gears a little bit and I want to begin to talk about the series that you wrote for the young, smaller children. And I saw some of the titles. Why don't you share some of the titles of that book with our audience?
Yes, so it literally started with one book, Millie the Job Seeker. So I created this character, Millie, who just pretty much is a version of me, just someone trying to figure out their way and just things that I wanted to know when I was younger or should have been, taught when I was younger. So I start with Millie the Job Seeker. I served as a career services director for over maybe 11 years at a local community college. And so that just took me on a journey with really understanding career readiness and just getting passionate about preparation. And now I'm the vice chancellor of student access. And so basically everything that's pre-entry. So kindergarten through 12th grade empowerment is all that I do. I run about 11 programs that are all aimed towards college preparation. And so the book is kind of driven from that. As I mentioned before, our juniors and seniors still don't know that they can go to college. They still don't know career paths. They still don't know how to, complete a college application admissions processes. And so in my series, I start with that preparation. My second book is Millie Goes to College, and it literally covers financial aid admissions from advisement all the way through going to study hall. It covers everything in a very creative way. And then I move into Millie Goes to Work. So she finds a job, she finds a career, she goes to college to prepare for that career. And there are other options, not just college, but technical school, trade school, and also military is defined in the book. Then she goes to work, and we talk about work ethics. So it's so important that we instill work ethics in our young people in that book. How to be a team player, at work. Trying to just teach them what we get at work that we don't always bring home and instill in them. And then I move into more of a social and civic engagement. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Crown Act that is working towards eliminating discrimination against natural hair. So I have a Crown Act, and where Millie is proud of her hair. Then we go into voting. Millie learns to vote. And I actually took that to the Boys and Girls Club, and they were actually taught how to vote. And we did a voters registration with them right there. Then we move into civic engagement. We move into Millie loves her grandmother, family, commitment, love. And then, of course, we did the quarantine. Millie stays home, talked about the corona virus and how to stay protected. And then I move into my husband's a realtor, and so am I. And so I moved into teaching them about how to become a homeowner. And so we utilized that Millie book for the little bitty kids. We just actually closed with a little kid and his mom, a single parent, was empowered today and purchased a home. And so he received the book. And, it just helped him understand the journey. It wasn't just a new room or a new place to stay. Mom empowered you all today by becoming a homeowner and setting that journey for a safer environment for him, because she's trying to move into a safer community so that he can grow, healthy and safe, regardless of today's times. And so the series is really focused on, once again, sharing and making sure the message is out there early. I have 3 books that I just released that are the Heritage series. So I'm real, beyond thrilled about HBCUs, passionate about that. So we have Millie loves her HBCU. Then we have Millie goes to Africa, and we learn about all the African continents. And then, of course, my last book, the book number 15, is getting ready to be released. And it is Millie Loves Black History. And it covers from the beginning of history, slavery, all the way through our Black Lives Matters that we're in now. And so basically just about empowerment.
Wow. I'm going to have to check them out. I might have to get a couple of them for my, my grandkids.
Yes, get them all. You let me know. I'll send them to you. So send them to you virtually.
Okay. I'm really excited about what you just shared in regards to Millie Loves Black History. Recently, and it's not anything I was taught, and that kind of made me feel some kind of way, but I understand why. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, there is Greenwood. Have you heard of that?
No, I have not.
Oh, wow.
I'm in Louisiana.
I get to share something.
Yes.
So back in 1921, there was a community in Tulsa, Oklahoma called Greenwood. It was almost like maybe a subdivision of the city. It was all Black. And it was Blacks that owned their own homes, had their own businesses. They had their own banks. They had their own hospital. They had doctors. They had lawyers. They had teachers. They had their own schools. They had everything. Well, it kind of similar to how Tulsa is now. One side of town is Black, one side of town was white, and the two didn't mix. Well, there was an incident that happened where it was said that a young Black man had attacked a young white woman on an elevator. And when they attacked her, he supposedly hadn't raped her. And so they ended up arresting him and putting him in jail so that he could have his day in court. Well, there was a white mob that decided they were going to do, they were going to lynch him. They were going to kill him for messing with this young white girl. And so they had African-American entrymen that was a part of the military that were put in place to protect him, to make sure that he got his day in court. So the mob came, but the mob was larger than the infantry men that were put there to protect them. And so when the infantry men ran away to try to save their own lives, they ran into the only community they knew would help them, and it was the Black community. Well, this mob followed them. And as the mob followed, it got bigger. And so as the mob came into this Greenwood community that was all Black community, professionals, they owned their homes, they owned their businesses, they kept their money within their community, the whole 9 yards. They began killing the residents of Greenwood, setting the businesses on fire. They set the hospital on fire. Well, then the police force of that day joined in, and they began to use airplanes to drop firebombs on the tops of the buildings and the houses. And so anyone that they didn't kill, they rounded them all up and put them in internment camps. And they were in an internment camp for like 3 to 4 weeks before they actually were released. Well, during this time, they had these mass graves that they were putting these individuals, African Americans that they had killed, into these mass graves. And then they were covering it up. So nobody knows who's all in the mass graves. Nobody knows the actual number of people that were killed that day. The hospital was burned to the ground. The medical director of the hospital was shot and killed. Several doctors and nurses were shot and killed. And then of all of the hospitals that were on the other side of town, only one hospital would allow them to utilize their facility, but they only could use the basement. They weren't allowed to have access to the rest of the hospital. And so in the midst of this, and I just learned about this within the last 2 weeks, because I had never heard about it. But as they were, I think one of the news stations, maybe 60 Minutes, was doing a live interview in Tulsa, Oklahoma doesn't have a community called Greenwood anymore, but they have a street called Greenwood. And so he was there in the oldest African American Episcopal church, and he was talking to these people that most of them hadn't even heard of the history. And so it was amazing to me to learn about this, because this is representative of what we encounter on a regular basis, of really not knowing the totality of our history. Because they were saying that this community was very much like Black Wall Street.
Mm. Wow.
And so that's, I mean, it's just now coming up now. So, 60 Minutes gets a hold of it. They really, and even there is a Republican that is the mayor over Tulsa. He got wind of it, and he has actually started an investigation to find and try to identify these African Americans that are in these mass graves. And they're talking about trying to do a memorial to put up so that they can identify what happened. And so that it will become a part of the history books that this occurred in this town at this time. And so they have, at the university that is there, they have an African American woman that is overseeing the excavation and to find these graves, these mass graves. And the challenge that they're finding is that there was also the Spanish flu that happened around that time. So they have to identify which ones were due to trauma and which ones died because of the Spanish flu. And so it's really been something to sit back and to listen, because one young man got up and he said, I was in my Black Histories class and he went to a HBCU, and he said, and they were talking about Greenwood community and how it was located in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he got up and he said, he raised his hand and he got up and he said, wait a minute, I'm from Tulsa. There is no such thing as a Greenwood community. He said, now we got a street named Greenwood, but there's no Greenwood community. So I don't know what you're talking about. And the guy literally had newspapers, because the New York Times reported on it. and he showed them newspaper clippings of what had transpired, pictures in the newspaper that showed the buildings burning to show the aftermath after everything was over with. And no one was brought to account for what happened.
And more as you're telling that story, I've heard about many of the communities that have experienced such trauma, and we have not been informed of the history and the devastation that our people have experienced over the countless amount of years. And so I think that sharing that was very important, because if we all take a look at the cities that we're from, and we know that we had empowered Black communities at that time, and they're no longer in existence. It's sort of like an insurrection in regards to where we were. And so I think understanding our history and really getting to the root of what our history was all about and the devastation that we've experienced definitely has an impact on the way we think now. And it's just amazing how we treat each other. I don't know if you're familiar with post-traumatic slavery syndrome. I did my dissertation on that piece. And it's just really, really something to think about when you think about our mindsets and how it was all influenced by those devastating moments, but yet and still we're still treating each other the way that we do in so many ways, and the way that we're kind of destroying our community and our people through our music and some of the other things that we're exhibiting in our culture now with the younger generation. So definitely.
One of the things that I have seen recently, and I don't know if you've seen it, the commercials have kind of shifted. Some of the commercials where they would show just a single concept of the African American young man that would give you the impression that all of them are bad. But then it kind of pans out to a panoramic view so that you can really see what's going on. So you see the young boys go into the store to get some snacks or whatever, and the man is watching their every move. He's got his eye on them to make sure, I guess, they're not going to steal anything or whatever. And so as they are over there laughing, our young people, they like to laugh and have fun just like everybody else. They're going to get the stuff that they want, and they're headed back to the counter, and another young man comes in. And they're like, hey, man, and, calls them over. And so as they set their stuff up on the counter, the guy behind the counter, you can tell, is getting a little antsy. And so the guy whips out his money and sets it up here, and he continues his conversation, not paying any attention to the man at all. So he's talking to his friends. He puts his money up there. The guy rings him up, sets his change on the counter. He gets his change, and they walk out. And then the next scene is of a young man that is driving in a car, and he's getting in the car, and he doesn't have a smile on his face. He's listening to some of the music that, is popular. And so he pulls up into this driveway. And so it's just a very slim view of him. And he walks up to the door, and it doesn't even show him knocking on the door. He walks up to the door, and when the door opens, it's like maybe his mother, possibly, that comes out and wraps him in this big old hug, and they embrace each other, and she invites him in the house. And then you see him walk in, and it's a little girl, which kind of makes you believe it's his daughter's birthday. And he comes in with the present, and she comes running to him. And so the message behind it is, don't take the selective view, but pan the view. Open the view so that you can see everything that's going on and not just a little bit of what's going on. And I saw that the same night that I was watching, and they were talking about Greenwood. And I thought that was interesting, because you're putting a new perspective out.
Mm-hmm.
And not that it's going to totally do away with the perspective that's already out there, but it'll begin to change people's minds, not to look at us so narrowly, but to give us an opportunity to be able to be seen as human beings. That we have people that love us just as well as you do. We have people that's going to miss us, just like if you were gone, people are going to miss you. And I think that begins the conversation. So in what you wrote about Millie Loves Black History, was there a specific something that happened or something that transpired that gave you the the mindset that I want to do this book.
Yes, definitely our Black Lives Matter movement and all that we're facing today. Once again, the travesty that we're facing as African Americans, it just cannot be ignored. And I think that it starts once again with empowering our young people, starting young, so that I think that we're missing with this, with Generation X and with the millenniums, and also with our baby boomers. Our baby boomers, our parents, they were just too busy to teach us the history, and it just stopped. So I just believe that our young people don't know the history, don't really understand the travesty we've been through. They take it for granted. And so I really want us to consciously get involved in educating our young people about what we've been through. And I think that's going to empower them, because it's just a missing link right now. The generations that are coming up, they don't value, a lot of them don't value the past, and they haven't learned from our past. And so that's the void. And therefore, we're kind of still going down this negative, I guess, negative pipeline that's going to lead us to devastation as a culture. And I think that we need to take a hold of it now. It's not just about, only just about how they're treating us, but how we're treating each other. I think we're missing that piece.
I have to agree with you, because a lot of times I think that they feel that there's a level of threatened. People feel threatened by what they don't know. They fear what they don't know. So opposed to being educated and stepping out there to learn about what they don't know, they pick up these conceptual ideas. And normally it plays more to favor one against the other, opposed to working collaboratively together and coming to a common ground to be able to build, to go out. And that's one of the biggest things that I have seen on my end. I sometimes catch some of the Red Table Talk episodes. And recently they had an episode on where they had women that came on that the topic was talking about how African American women are losing their identity. And in the process of losing their identity, they're losing their voice. And how they were bringing it back was, if you get upset about something, then there's the angry Black woman. You can't just be upset about what happened. Now you've become an angry Black woman. So you've diminished whatever created the scenario where I acted out emotionally, and now you made it my fault without really knowing the background or the concept about what happened. And then they were talking about how the inequality in healthcare, how people are, their pain is not being accepted. They're diminishing how they are viewed and how they're seen out in the world. And even they were talking about how one of them ended up being forced to leave an airplane because she didn't do anything wrong. And it was another one where they were needing a doctor on an airplane, and this woman was a doctor, and she was answering the call for a doctor, and they wanted her credentials, asked her, did she carry her degree around with her? You know, they wanted a justification as to, you know, are you really a doctor? Why this man is up here possibly having a heart attack?
I remember that one.
You know, and so, but when a Caucasian man stepped up and said that he was a doctor, he was able to move forward and be able to assist the individual, whereas you're still quizzing me.
And you know, when you spoke about, are we losing our identity, or the topic was regarding losing our identity, have we ever known, you know, truly our identity? When you look at from back at the Emancipation Proclamation, you know, we're supposed to be free. We never had an identity in this country. We came over as cattle, you know. And so I don't know where we as Black women have ever had that. I think like right now in this day and time, we're trying to find an identity, but we've never been allowed to demonstrate who we are. You know, now our strength through everything we've been through, it's clear. You know, and that's kind of what we hold on to. And the empowerment of our mothers, that's what we hold on to as an identity. But really, we have not had that chance. We didn't know what we queens we didn't experience that in this country. We have always been shut down, we have always been silenced, we have always been given direction of how you're going to serve and what you should be. So I don't know if we've ever had a true identity. What is it, you know, for us African Americans in this country as women? You know, what is our identity? So I think we just need to go on a journey redefining who we are and staying clear and concise with society to define what we want to be known for, you know.
I like that point that you just made. And the reason that I like it is because it's not taken away from anyone else, but it's giving me permission to step into my space, to learn it for myself, and then to live it. And whether it's accepted by anybody else or not is not important. I think one of the greatest lessons that I have learned in my journey is that what other people think about me is none of my business.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's only about what I think about myself, how I see myself, how I choose to show up on a daily basis that matters.
Very well said.
I think we as women, regardless of whether society accepts us or not, regardless if other people look at us as a threat or not, it's really not about them. It's about us. And it's about our integrity and how we decide that we want to show up in the world every day.
And thanks to platforms like Real Talk with Madam Michelle Jones, we're able to see ourselves and share with one another and just really redefine who we want to be with no exceptions to the rule, with no without being questioned. So platforms like this, and I appreciate you so much for having this. That's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about being on Real Talk and shared it with every woman that I know, because this is woman to woman, and it is more empowering to have this moment for me than anything, you know, that I've had in life in other arenas. It's just to be here with as an African American woman and really just talk about who I am and what I want to give the world. And that's what I think all women need to have, that a level of platform like that.
So I want to give you an opportunity to share whatever you want to share with our audience.
Yes. You know, I'm going to come from, you know, my book, Follow Me to Purpose. It's just the scripture that I stand on for life. And it's just a level of encouraging you to be yourself and to be the best you, and allowing success to flow, whatever that looks like. And so in Proverbs 16:3 in my book on page 12, as I mentioned, it's a 30-day journey and Follow Me to Purpose. And so on. This is actually day one. It says, put God in charge of your works and your plans will be achieved and you will succeed. And so that's my foundation. And a lot of people say, you do so much, you're so busy. No, I actually put God in charge. And when he says go, or when he shows me the vision of a certain thing, then I'm going. If it's over here to the Boys and Girls Club to help some little ones, or if it's over here at this college, or if it's over with this family, helping them with the home options, God gives me the strength on that day to serve that purpose, you know. So allowing him to use you as the vessel that he called you to be is so important. So I really want to emphasize Proverbs 16:3. And most importantly for all of us, don't forget to empower our kids. Don't forget to empower our young people. I mean, starting from when they're born, you know, we need to read to them. We need to empower them. We need to teach them the history. We do need to have them sit and watch all of the movies that we're enjoying, like me and my husband, all the time by ourselves. Come get the kids, you know, because they're watching other influences and they need to come and learn about their history and they need to grow from that to be empowered. So I just say, don't forget to empower the kids, and don't forget, women, to empower yourselves in any way possible.
So if our audience wants to get in touch with you or to learn about any of your books or to get more information about you, how can they reach out to you?
Well, I have a personal web page that anyone can just take advantage of. You know, I can do a series of workshops for young people from kindergarten through 12th grade, and they're all displayed on the web page with my academy. It's called Virtually You, the letter U, Leadership Academy. So it's virtuallyouleadership.com. That's where you can find my books as well as all of the resources that I have to offer the community. And I don't mind giving my service, volunteering my service to any youth groups that need them. So virtuallyouleadership.com, Dr. Tuesday Mahoney.
So your books, how can they get a hold of your books?
Yes, I'm self-published. I put in all the work. I did all the illustration, everything. And so if anyone wants to kind of just learn about how to write and how to just get into your passion, I'm here for you for that as well. I'm located on Amazon. So it's amazon.com /author, or you can just search Dr. Tuesday Mahoney on Amazon and you'll find all of my books. I do have some journals out there. I have some prayer journals as well. I have some little like teen journals for young girls, and I'm getting ready to release my college readiness book, which is too cool for college and too cute for college. And these are for our young people who feel like they don't have to go to school or get education beyond high school. So it just teaches those young people to empower themselves and teaches parents to empower themselves. So we're getting ready to release that as well for the college readiness series. But basically, Amazon, Dr. Tuesday Mahoney.
Thank you so very much for coming on to Girls Talk Real Talk today.
You're welcome.
I appreciate the opportunity to be able to hear from you and to learn about your books. I've got a 9-year-old grandson that I'm definitely going to be getting some of those books for so that he can sit down and learn some things, understand some things that, you know, our young people today think they know everything.
Yes.
But the way
that I deliver the books, it's very creative. So they have the opportunity to really learn and have fun at the same time. In the back of every book is a color series. And also we have sight words as well as vocabulary of keywords. And typically when I do a workshop on any of my books, we play word bingo. And so they're able to once again learn about some of the terms in each one of the books as they are once again empowered. So it's a fun book. They won't even realize it, but they'll gain as they learn.
That's a good idea. I like that idea. We're definitely going to have you come back on the show and talk a little bit more about the work that you do with young people. And really got a couple of panels coming up that I'll probably be reaching out to you about. Well, this is it for Girls Talk Real Talk on this Thursday, because you know what? On Girls Talk Real Talk, when girls talk, just about anything can happen. So thank you, Dr. Tuesday, for coming on the show with us today. Thank you, audience, for being there to listen in. And if you have any questions or you want to reach out to us, just go to our Girls Talk Incorporated Facebook page and leave us a comment. We'll talk to you later and have a fantastic evening.
Good evening.